Welcome to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1 Hank FM and NTXVarsitySports.com. Live from Parker County Brewing Company in Willow Park. The Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. And now, here's the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist.
Hello and welcome to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. I'm Kevin Lonnquist. We are at Parker County Brewing Company, just off of Ranch House Road here in eastern Parker County. We will bring you every podcast from this location throughout the 2025-26 school year. As always, we want to thank our two main sponsors between H5 Sports Barn and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. We continue to appreciate their support of this podcast as well as Aledo Athletics. Well, this is the week that determines the District 5-5A championship. Aledo and Granbury meet. A sweep means the victor has control over the district race and the top Division I seed for the playoffs. A split, and things are no different than what they were last week. Both the Bearcats and Pirates share the district lead at 8-0. Both have already clinched playoff spots. Aledo is 24-2. Granbury is 16-7-2. Aledo was on a 12-game winning streak. Last week, the Bearcats handled Saginaw High to clinch that playoff spot by scores of 12-0 and 10-0. Then on Senior Day this past Saturday, Aledo topped Birdville 10-2. And during this run to get to 8-0 in District 5-5A, the Bearcats have dominated. And let me tell you why. They have allowed only 8 runs in district play, 6 of those coming in one game. They have pitched 5 shutouts and scored double figures in all but one game. And then here's another streak, because Aledo is so good at all these streaks. They have scored in double figures in 9 straight games. That includes 2 Saturday non-district games as well. So that kind of tells you where things have been going for this team so far recently and really throughout the course of the year. As for this series against the Pirates, it will start on Tuesday in Aledo. Friday's return game is down in Hood County in Granbury. Oh, and these teams are going to continue to see more of each other in the coming years because they are moving into the same Class 6A district starting this fall. 2-segment podcast for you as always. We'll begin with head coach Chad Berry. Then in our second segment, we will be joined by senior utility player and pitcher Wilson Sinem and senior outfielder Kyle Poindexter. Okay, first of all, Coach Berry, good to have you with us here. And let's talk a little bit about, first of all, congratulations on making the playoffs. 15th consecutive season to do that. It never gets old. You never want to take anything like this for granted, although you've been doing this as long as you've been coaching here, which is really kind of a silly stat in itself, but a great stat nonetheless. But I imagine you treat this as the first step to the bigger picture because of what this program has set in store for it, or what it hopes to accomplish this year.
Definitely. We have a standard set every year. I mean, our goal is to make the playoffs, win a district championship, and ultimately win a state championship in that order. So the standard's set. It's been set for a long time. The bar doesn't change. The teams change, but the bar and the standards never change.
Let's talk a little bit about these numbers that I just rattled off during this streak. For the sake of comparison, I just looked at your double-figure scoring games for 2025, the state championship season. You had a total of 9 of those, okay? So with this streak of 9, you've already equaled that total, and you already have 14 for the entire year. So is it a situation where it's depth in the lineup? I know 5-5A may not be at the caliber that what it was last year. You can talk about more about that. But what are you seeing from this team as a whole? Because teams just don't roll off results like this because it's just one thing or the other.
I think the consistency has been the difference. I think top and bottom, all the way up and down the lineup, whether we have, one of the Huffmans in the lineup, whether Naraki's in the lineup or Mazon or whoever else steps in and plays one game to the next, there's not really a drop off. And so we've built a lot of depth in the lineup. We got a lot of guys in the lineup that can really run coming out of the left-handed batter's box. A lot of guys with a lot of pop. Mm-hmm. And then I think probably the thing that sets us apart is we're very aggressive on the bases. We've got a lot of guys that can steal bases, and so we put a lot of pressure on pitchers as soon as we get on base. And there's guys moving, there's fielders moving, and we're putting balls in play and hitting them where they're not. And so I think it puts a lot of pressure on the other team. And when you have guys that are going up there with discipline at the plate and they're not swinging at stuff out of the zone, it's making pitchers have to work harder to get outs, and we're making them throw more pitches per inning and getting into their bullpen earlier than we have in the past.
Yeah, and to your point on that, this is the one, and you did a great job of transitioning me to my question that I had set up for this, because one thing that stands out is the high number of walks versus strikeouts. Nearly 100 more walks than punchouts. I think the number is 230 walks as a team, 137 strikeouts as a team. That's incredible at any level of baseball. So to the point that you were just talking about in terms of players working counts, getting pitchers out of the game earlier on the other side, but what that tells me is that your lineup is putting itself in a lot of high leverage count situations. Pitchers have to come in with more fastballs if they get behind either 2-0, 3-1, something like that.
For sure. I think, when the leadoff guy gets on base and then the next guy, works the count, works himself on base, it keeps pitchers from being able to pitch around some of our big power hitters. And so they're having to, we don't have a place for them, so we have to challenge them. And for the most part, up and down the lineup, when we've had chances to have big hits, kids have come through all up and down the lineup from 1 hole to 9.
I was going to ask you, do you think, and it's hard to maybe equate this unless you actually have a number on this, but the number of first pitch strikes your batters have seen in any at bat, I would have to say, based on that walk total, is you're not getting a lot of first pitch strikes. So immediately that changes the whole complexion of the at bat.
I think so. Especially if we're seeing off speed, early on in counts, then we're, if they can throw the off speed for a strike, that's fine. We'll adjust and hit it later in the count. But if they can't throw their off speed, then we're laying off the off speed and waiting for the fastball, and then, attacking that as soon as we get it.
Okay, team batting average is .374, averaging 7.7 runs per game, an on-base percentage of .490 even. I think when you were here last week, it was .482 or something like that. So it's even gotten better since we last talked. 18 home runs. But what jumps out to me, and this is just, remember our Deacon, our statistician for football, he has the out-of-whack stat, but I was actually texting with him earlier on the drive over here. 58 triples. I mean, that's a silly number. And the fact that you guys have one with 10, you have 2 with 8, you have another one with 7. This is the hardest base hit to get in the game of baseball is the triple. It's the most exciting yet, but it's hard to get one of these. And the fact that you have, I think it's like 1/5 of your hits are 3 backers. I've never heard of anything like that.
I don't know what to tell you on that. I haven't done anything different than we have in the past. Just guys are really flattening balls out, getting them into the gap past the outfielders, and then we've got some really good speed in our lineup that, we can, especially coming out of that left-handed batter's box, we've got 4 or 5 lefties in the lineup at one time, and all 5 of them can run. Mm-hmm. So when those guys put one in a gap, it's whether or not the throw's coming back in on time, and a lot of times they're stretching a double into a triple, and they've been fortunate. They're really good base runners. They're aggressive, and they get off to a good start and put a lot of pressure on the defense. Yeah,
in your mind, what is the key in terms of if you're gonna hit a triple, or is it just the base runner, the batter runner has to kind of just pick up and find out where the ball is and kind of see where that relay is going to go, or how does it? And of course, he's got to rely on the third base coach. But what are the elements that really can put that together, and why it's become such a useful tool in your offense?
Well, I think we preach, especially when they're on base, to know where the outfielders are playing you. Are they playing really deep? Are they playing straight away? Are they playing shallow? And then when you hit the ball, you probably know if you're going to second automatically. And, we're training them once they round first and they get halfway to second. I'm trying to watch and see where the relay's coming from, and I can be going ahead and telling them, come on, so they don't ever have to slow down, or if I'm holding up a stop sign, they know they can hold up for a double. But I think they do a really great job of base running. I think a lot of them have really good instincts, especially. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of them, they hit it and they know that's a triple.
Okay, so in that play, let's just talk about a real game play of a triple. When do you want them to pick you up at third, or your coach at third?
I want them to pick me up as soon as they're probably halfway, before they start to slow down at second. Mm-hmm. So that they know if I'm motioning them to come on, they're still speeding up. They're never slowing down. Mm-hmm. They're hitting second like they would be hitting first or going to second, and they're just coming straight to third. And there's if they hold up at all, or if they hesitate at all, I'll usually hold them at second. But if the throw's offline, or if the outfielder bobbles the ball, we're going to push the issue a lot. and really try to put as much pressure on the defense as we can.
And the slight hesitation of that, like if a base runner is going to have that any hesitation around the second base bag, there's no chance to get a triple, or he's going to make it more closer, or he's going to make it closer than it needs to be.
For sure.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about these two young men, Wilson and Kyle. Just talk about where they stand in the lineup, and have they stayed in their spots all season, or have you moved them around a little bit? But they're two of your top RBI producers, 23, 24 between them.
Yeah, Wilson started out kind of in the top half of the lineup at the beginning of the year. He was started out in the tournaments as a 2-hole, and he's kind of taken over that leadoff spot, and we've moved Gladchuck down to the 2-hole when he's in the lineup. And then Kyle has been kind of a 6-hole guy, 7-hole guy, and then last week we moved him up to the 2-hole. He'd been swinging the bat really well the week before, and he swung it really well again last week, so we moved him up to the 2-hole, and he never missed a beat. So they've been both have been really, really consistent for us for the whole season.
Is that something with Kyle, when you move him up, when you make a big move like that, obviously you want to give him that extra at bat, but is there anything else beyond that? Is it a speed thing, because you can have back-to-back speed on the bases between those two?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I kind of look at the lineup as once you get 1 through 5, then I look at the 6-hole as, okay, that's kind of your next leadoff guy, your 6 or your 7 guy. And so, if our 2-hole or somebody at the 1 and 2 spots out of the lineup, I'm usually, if that person is swinging it pretty well, they're probably going to try to slide them up into that spot.
Okay. So just to update on the pitching staff, 1.38 ERA. The whip is 1.06. The opposing batting average is 173. Now, for those who don't know, I'd like for you to kind of give a quick tutorial on whip to people and how that plays into overall performance and how you evaluate your pitchers.
We want the whip to be below 1 if we can. It's walks plus hits per inning. So anything over 1 means you're honestly giving up basically 1 base runner per inning, and we want to keep that. We'd like to keep that average under 1.
I mean, you're really close.
But it's definitely something we can work on. We continue to work on. So, but for the most part, if you're right around that 1 area, that's usually a pretty good sign.
Yeah, I think from the way I understand it from the major league level, if it's anything beyond, and again, this is a different level of ball that we're talking about here, but I think probably maybe the standard level for any level of balls, if you're a little above 1/6, then that's kind of a problem for your pitchers, because then there's too much traffic on the bases, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to jinx this. The pitching staff has allowed only 1 home run. You want to tell us when that was?
Oh, man.
That's the good news. You have to go back and think about when that was.
I'm trying to think.
Was that in a tournament, or was that?
I think so. It had to be in a tournament. I'd have to go back and look. I don't even remember.
That's actually a good thing.
Might have been the first tournament or so.
But the fact that this pitching staff, though, has been able to keep the ball in the ballpark, though. I mean, again, high school is what it is in terms of the number of home runs that teams can hit, that sort of thing. But the fact that your club has been so stingy in that department, what does that tell you about your staff?
I think we attack the zone. We keep the ball down in the zone. We're hitting our spots, keeping hitters off balance, not giving in. And anytime you can stay ahead in the count, the advantage is definitely in the pitcher's favor. So, I mean, that's our whole thing is attack, try to get ahead, and then, throw your off-speed stuff and set them up for something that you want to get them out with.
Okay. And that probably plays to the fact that, we talked about it on the other side where other teams might be struggling to throw strike one. Your staff's ability to throw strike one rather, plays a lot into these numbers here that I just read off: the whip, the team ERA, the batting average. Once you get a hold of the count, that really changes the complexion of the at bat. And I would think that's something that you and Coach Evans and the rest of the staff have really preached hard, and those guys, I would presume, have executed it pretty well.
Oh yeah, I mean, anytime you can stay ahead in the count, you're definitely in favor, and you're going to have more success for sure. The batter has to start thinking about what's coming next. If you throw your off speed for strike, then that's another thing they have to worry about. And so, and then we've got some guys that can throw it really, really hard. They're throwing it up there in the 90s, and so if you're expecting off speed and you get a fastball, it's going to get blown right by you. And so, but those guys, besides their fastball, have really great breaking stuff, and they're all developing changeups as well. And so when they have a 3-pitch mix and they're as good as they are on the mound, they're extremely difficult to hit, especially at the high school level.
For sure. And again, with the velocity being what it is, that change of speeds, that 10 to 15 mile an hour difference, or even 7 to 10, can make such a huge difference in terms of what batters have to expect, in that particular scenario. Okay, so let's get into Granbury. You handled this series last year pretty comfortably against the Pirates, 7-2 down there, 7-1 at home to sweep it. What do you think's different about the Pirates as you were preparing for them from last year to this year? And obviously, again, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, this is not only for the district title, but it's also for the top seed in the Division I, because both of you guys are going to go into that bracket.
I think they're a lot more inexperienced this year. Last year they had quite a few seniors that had been 2-3 year starters for them, and so I think coming into this year they had one of their main arms back, the left-handed pitcher, and he's been having some arm problems, so he hasn't been pitching lately. But the fact that they keep winning, and most of the guys on their varsity this year are first-year varsity guys and first-year starters at the varsity level. And I think it says a lot about their program as well. That even though that the roster turned over quite a bit, they still have what it takes to compete right there at the top of the district.
I think that's a tribute to Coach Epling and the job that he's done down there too. That he's building that tradition down there, and the fact that when you get that, I think that kind of speaks more what they're doing this year to the substance of the program, if you will, because if you turn the roster over as much as they have, and the fact that they're right in it, they're going back to the playoffs this year, and they're neck and neck with you coming into this series. That obviously I would think that would get your team's attention here and say, well, yeah, they're not the same team, guys, but that doesn't mean anything based on what they've been doing so far.
Oh, for sure. And that's what we talked about today. I just said, maybe they don't have quite the pop in their bats that they had last year. I said, but they're still winning each and every game. And so they're finding ways to win. They're playing well together as a team. And so we've got to be ready for that. And we've got to go out tomorrow. And it doesn't matter who steps on the field. We got to go play our best baseball, period.
Okay. Does it matter that the first game of this series is is at your place to get the kind of advantage in that, or does that mean anything because you're going to have to go back to their place anyway, one way or the other?
No, I don't look too much into that. A lot of times I look at, now if we were to lose tomorrow, then maybe it makes a difference going into Friday, having to go there and play. But typically we've always played pretty well when we've gone to Granbury, and so our kids like the field. It's a very nice grass dirt field, one of the nicest around for sure for grass and dirt. And our kids enjoy playing there. It's a nice atmosphere. It's a neat little park, and so I don't really get caught up in the home and home, which games where, or anything like that.
Too many nuances, I guess, in terms of something like that. It's all the same 90 feet between the bases and 60 feet, 6 inches between the mound and home plate, and you got to throw strikes and that sort of thing. Okay, so having said all that, with everything surrounding this series, pretty much the same approach as it was last year, or is there a part of you, because of how we just described Granbury, or how you just described Granbury, that you still feel like you're the hunted team in this series because you guys obviously are coming off a state championship and the record is what it is, that sort of thing?
I think so. Our kids know they have a bullet, they have a target on their back, and they have all year, and they know they're going to get everybody's best shot every time they step on the field. And, they've risen to the challenge over and over and over again. And so I think they kind of wear that as almost like a badge of honor now. They want to be the team that everybody wants to take their best shot at, because they want everybody's best shot, and they want to give them theirs right back. And so they've kind of their mentality is a little bit different than last year's team, and they seem a little more hard nosed about some things than last year's team. But they're all both so similarly talented, loaded on the mound, lots of confidence in the field, play great defense, and hit the ball well.
All right, so you're the last team that has to finish this off, because every team sport has won a district championship. So it's all, I mean, you've got a share of it. You haven't won anything yet, but it's sitting right there for you, because it's kind of incredible, though, what we've seen here, that every single team sport has won the district championship, and you're right on the verge of doing that if everything goes the way you hope it is. But what does that speak? You've been around this athletic department for as many years as I've been around it. And so there's that substance to it too. There is that everyone wants to be, we need to be well-rounded. We want to be well-rounded in every sport, and it kind of becomes infectious with everything. And I mentioned that to Heather Myers last week when I was talking with her about this.
I think it says a lot about the kids. I think it says a lot about the parents of those kids and the community. And at the same time, it says a lot about the coaches. They take a lot of pride in their work. They take a lot of pride in putting a good product on the field, and we want to go out and compete and be at the, with whoever's in our district and be the best in our district, whatever sport it is. Doesn't matter. We want to be at the top.
Okay, and then finally for you, to what extent have you started to look at Region 1 because playoff spots are being clinched? I mean, no coach wouldn't start looking ahead if he wasn't doing his job. And so, I mean, have you, and you don't have to get into potential names, but how much have you at least kind of taken a gander, at least seen what's the field is? Because once you clinch your spot, okay, now I can officially start really getting a lay of the land here. So what have you kind of done in terms of just kind of cheating ahead a little bit?
Well, I definitely check the websites each and every game night and see who won, who lost, who's playing who, what the standings are, and things like that. So that's been going on all season from game one. I've paid attention to Amarillo and Abilene out there in West Texas and how well they're playing baseball, and Wichita. I think one of the Wichita Falls schools that could go big school. Mm-hmm. So I'm aware of them. I'm aware of Colleyville and Birdville and those teams. I mean, there's several roadblocks in the way.
Yeah.
I mean, Pascal's a really good baseball team this year. Arlington Heights is good again.
Always is good, yeah. And Heritage's program speaks for itself over the years.
And then you got Centennial that they beat us in a tournament, and they're going to be a big school. They could be a possible playoff opponent if we make it down the road far enough to see them. And so there's a lot of talent in Region 1, and so we're going to have to come ready to play each and every game.
Okay. Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks as we start looking ahead, because once you come back here in 2 weeks, we'll look ahead to the first playoff matchup and against whoever that is. But in the meantime, wish you nothing but the best of luck this week against Granbury. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
All right. And we want to remind you that this Aledo Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and iPhysio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats, with expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training. H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Head to Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth today. Their new state-of-the-art facility is conveniently located just off of I-30. Exit Las Vegas Trail and experience top-notch service and hassle-free buying. Don't forget to ask about this month's special offers. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family-owned and operated for over 30 years. Stick around. Second segment of the podcast comes your way next. We're going to be talking with a couple of the players. We'll also have one of our notables getting you ready for Aledo spring football. Back after this timeout. And we're back on the Aledo Coaches Show podcast here at Parker County Brewing Company. I'm Kevin Lonnquist. Before we get to our guest in this second segment, a couple of Aledo notables to tell you about. And Aledo spring football started today, April the 13th. The Bearcats starting to prepare for the 2026 season. Their first as a Class 6A school. We'll break this up into two reports. The offense today, the defense is going to be next week. Now, as for this offense, the Bearcats only return one true offensive starter, that's center Grant Foreman. But as we know, the Bearcats played a lot of people in 2025 across the front, so it isn't a big reboot as far as this program is concerned. For instance, on the offensive line, Cooper Elms made a couple of starts due to injury, so he's back. Now, two players who will not be going through spring workouts will be Trip Caldwell and Dean Timmerman, but they should be good to go for fall workouts when those get going in August. As for the wide receiver spot, well, of course, the Bearcats lost Caden Finley, who is now at Notre Dame. Then there's Bane Martin. He has since moved on to another school. You will remember the name of Kane Lanier. He made an impression late in the season in that slot position. A couple of other names to look for would be Maddox Nurse and Wyatt Dorsey. They are starting to groom and make an impact. But if you do remember the name Money Parks, his younger brother, Kingston Parks, could be the heir apparent to Caden Finley. He's come back from Arlington Oak Ridge. Last year, he led Oak Ridge to an SBC title, 24 catches, 380 yards, 5 touchdowns. And just like his brother, Parks is committed to Utah, but he could be that big drink of water, that big receiving threat for the Bearcats, standing at 6'3", 180 pounds. You all will remember Colby Thompson. Even though he wasn't the starting tight end, he did see a lot of playing time. He will be, or is expected to be, the primary tight end. As for the running back, Jeremiah Johnson is the lead running back. Of course, Jeremiah got a lot of time in late game situations in 2025. Other names will be involved in this mix, and there, of course, the Bearcats coaching staff uses a variety of ball carriers as we've noted over the last couple of years. So just kind of be on the lookout for that. I have one or two names that I've been looking for, but I want to wait to see when Robbie Jones, who will join me here maybe in a couple of weeks. I'm expected to have Robbie out a couple times, maybe sometime in 2 weeks, and then maybe right after spring football to let us know what's going on there. And then finally, I saved the best for last, and that's at quarterback. Now, we mentioned in last week's Aledo Notables that Crowley Junior varsity quarterback Eli Pinnock was coming over, but the Bearcats have an experienced starter in Louisville move-in, Trey Williams. He started the last 2 years for the Fighting Farmers. In 2025, he threw for 2,500 yards and 29 touchdowns. Not a big runner as his numbers indicated, but that kind of depends on what the Fighting Farmers did with their offense under the head coach of Michael Odell. So we'll see if that changes to any extent. But Williams does have several Division I offers there from Arizona State, Colorado State, UNLV, and Texas State. So that's a look at the Bearcats offense as far as spring workouts are concerned. And then, of course, next week we'll talk about the defense. Spring football running all the way until May the 13th. Then, as for softball, the Lady Cats now have a 64-game district winning streak dating back to 2021. They won the District 5-5A title last Friday with a 15-0 win over Saginaw. They are now 20-9 and 10-0 in district play. Last week of the regular season is this week. They are at Granbury on Tuesday, and then they wrap up things home to Azle on Friday. Pleased to be joined now in our second segment by senior left fielder Wilson Sinem and senior outfielder Kyle Poindexter. Congratulations, gentlemen, on the season so far. Just overall thoughts of just what you've seen this part through the first 26 games. I'll start with you on this, Wilson.
I think we're in a really good spot right now. We're hitting the ball well. We're playing defense well. We're running the bases well. I think if we can just keep our pitching good, our offense will take care of it throughout the season.
And how do you see it, Kyle?
I feel like we just really come together as a team. You know, like the brotherhood and the camaraderie is just there. Every practice we're having fun, but we're still taking it serious and just looking one game ahead.
It's kind of an accountability thing, too. It's kind of like even though you can't get too caught up in the moment, the record is great as it is. You all have clinched the playoffs, but there's still a lot of work left to be done on this, Kyle.
Yes, sir. Of course, there's always work left to be done. Job's never finished. Just always that one game ahead.
Okay. So we had Dylan Duran and Connor Whitmire on here a couple of weeks ago and just talk about this lineup and how everyone kind of complements each other. You heard Coach talk about with you, Kyle, that you were moved up to the second spot. You usually hit seventh. Wilson, you've been pretty much in the leadoff spot all year, but the way these guys complement each other, how has that kind of kept the line moving game in and game out? I'll start with you on this, Wilson.
I think it's been really well. Me and Gladchuck usually, two of us will get on, and we have a lot of speed, and then we can move into our power guys with Landon and Dylan and Lucas, and they'll hit us in. And then also the bottom half of our lineup has been doing really well. I feel like when I come up to leadoff, either Connor's on base or Jackson's on base, and usually a lot of times Connor will bunt him over, so I'll have a runner in scoring position for the top of our lineup. So I think it complements each other really well because we have a lot of we have speed in the beginning, then we have a lot of power in the middle, and then we can get back on base in the bottom half of the lineup.
You know, Kyle, one thing as we've seen over the years with high school lineups, you guys have seen this in a playing varsity ball over the years, that in a high school lineup, once you get past the sixth spot, things kind of drop off to those lineups. But it doesn't seem to be the case with this team this year.
Yeah, this year I feel like the whole lineup, we can really do anything. The bottom lineup can bunt the ball for like a sacrifice, move the runner there, and then they can drive him in, the next guy after that.
Okay, Wilson, you want to fill us in on the trick with all these triples with 58 of them? You have 8 of these things.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's a crazy number. I've never – when I looked at that number – I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when I looked at that number at the stats today when Coach sent them over to me, I'm like, 58? What?
Yeah. I don't know. Our district helps a lot about it. These teams aren't as strong as we're used to seeing in playoffs and preseason. So if you put a ball in the outfield, pull a lot of balls down the line in the gaps, and they just think 3 out of the box. And if you're running, you can usually beat it out. Just because the outfields we've been playing haven't been as strong as we're used to.
Okay. Are you thinking 3 as soon as it gets down the line or up
Always,
the alley there?
yeah,
Is that something that, and to what extent are you picking up Coach, at second base as he was talking about, as you're about to hit second base?
It's kind of a judgment thing for me. I'm usually I'm thinking 3 out of the box. I'm rounding second. I'll look up at Coach Barry. If he's waving his hands around, I'll be like, all right, I got third. and then I'll take a peek at the throw or like at where they are and if they've thrown it in yet, if I'm going to go to third yet.
Okay, Kyle, 18 team home runs are great, but I talked about the power of this team and the number of doubles last week. Now, you have 14 of these. And again, some of that might have to do with the competition that you're playing against, but hey, they got to go pick up the baseball too and make the plays and get you guys out. But this team has an absurd number of amount. I mean, I talked about the absurd amount of triples with 58, but then you have 159. So I would have to think that's where a lot of this, where you really understand the power of this team. It's not so much the home runs, but the doubles. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, the doubles. I mean, most of the time when we're hitting doubles, we're driving runners in. There's always runners on base, and because the lineup, just everyone that in the lineup just has that power to hit a ball in the gap and just get on second base.
Is it a case too where when you step out of the box and you're looking at where and you have a plan to come to the plate, but if you see maybe if left center is a little bit more wide open or right center is wide open, I mean, are you trying to hit for that spot, or are you just trying to hit where it's pitched and then just kind of let it figure it out after that?
Personally, I like to just hit it where it's pitched, but if there is a noticeable gap, like sometimes we'll be playing pull side, and I'm like, all right, if I get an outside pitch, I really want to focus on that right field line. Okay. And that helps getting those triples.
What about for you? I mean, I know you might eschew doubles here, Wilson, but for you, but if you do hit a double, are you kind of taking that mindset as well, or how do you see that?
Yes, sir. I mean, a lot of times, like I've noticed, I guess these districts, they do their scouting, and I guess I've hit a few oppo shots. So I'll look, and they'll be like the second baseman will play in kind of up the middle. So it's like, all right, I can literally just roll one over down the right side, and it'll be fair. And then that's how I've hit a lot of singles doing that, and then doubles, I kind of just hit it where it's pitched. Just got to keep the ball on the line.
Okay, so you heard me talk at the beginning of this podcast about the number of double-figure runs that you guys have scored in games, and this is a streak that's going on right now with 9. You also probably heard me talk about the leverage counts. I mean, the fact that you guys are probably jumping ahead so many times in a game like that, just what is the difference when you're at the plate, when you're getting ball one versus strike one? I'll ask you on this, Kyle.
It just you just really gotta look for that pitch to hit. You know, that first pitch might be a crappy ball in the dirt, like a kind of just junk thrower on the mound, throwing a lot of breaking balls, throwing a lot of changeups. You just really want to hunt that fastball, even when you're down the count.
Okay, and then what about for you, Wilson?
I think that a lot of these teams you play, they try to throw us off with their off speeds, and then they kind of get down the count because it's harder to throw for a strike, and then you just wait for your fastball to come and you just drive it just drive it wherever it's pitched. But I've struggled a lot with I just want to I'm always lead off and I just want to hit the first pitch of the game because I'm like, obviously they're going to throw me a fastball and they don't. And so I've tried to get better at that of just waiting to see my pitch. I can handle this pitcher in an 0-2 count or an 0-0 count. I just need to know that if my pitch is coming, I can hit it.
And it's something, too, with these opposing pitchers. And, again, this is take nothing away from the District 5-5A pitchers that you all have faced. But I would imagine, too, that I would think that you guys probably feel like you have, a mental advantage, too, just because of, look, the record kind of speaks for itself. And so sometimes, I mean, I've seen it with the football team, that the game is over before it even starts. I mean, do you kind of get that sense from a body language, from a facial expression from a pitcher, like I have to hope that this is a strike rather than this needs to be a strike? Or how do you see that, Kyle? I'll ask you about that.
Baseball is a really different game than most sports. A lot of times it can go one way. The pitcher, he's always up there trying to do his best, but when he gets down in the count, especially to the meat of our lineup, you can tell that sometimes they just shut down.
How do you see that, Wilson? I mean, and you can't do that, too, because, I mean, these games can get out of hand pretty fast, like most of them have during the District 5-5A season.
It's kind of the same way. I mean, towards the beginning of the game, the team's kind of fired up, and their dugout's loud, and you can tell the pitcher has some aggression on his face, but usually when we put up a 3 spot in the first inning, if that your next at bat, you can kind of see the pitchers are defeated, and we've kind of won the game before it's really actually over.
Okay, so let's talk about this Granbury series. Just like last year, I would imagine that you guys get up for things like this when most of these other weeks have not had the kind of, if you will, intensity that this one will have. It's for essentially the district championship if you guys get a sweep, or it could be the same if there's a split, that sort of thing. But I would imagine, too, that this kind of is helping to energize you guys because you need something to kind of, if you will, get your attention. That's probably not the right way to say it, but you need something here because the playoffs are approaching, and then that gets to the one-and-done kind of round of the playoffs. So how do you see this, Wilson, going into the series against the Pirates?
Sir, definitely. I think we're super excited about it. I mean, we haven't preseason, we had a lot of fun games, and we realized we're competitors and we can play with anyone. And I think that realized that now we're actually going to see a playoff team kind of scenario, and I think we know that we have what it takes to beat it, and we just got to play our game.
Okay, what about for you, Kyle?
Yeah, we're just trying to just go out there, play our own game, trust the guys out there on the field, trust our coaches, and it all just figure itself out, and it just will really get us mentally prepared for playoffs.
All right, I'm going to back up here for a second because I asked the guys 2 weeks ago, Connor and Dylan, about those 2 shutout wins over Flower Mound and Keller. By the way, and I don't know if Keller's lost since it, but that was Keller's only loss of the year last time I looked. But you think about shutout wins over 2 6A powerhouses like that, programs that make traditional deep runs. Flower Mound's won a couple of state titles. What did those 2 outcomes serve as maybe a catalyst for what this season has the chance to become? I'll start with you on this, Wilson.
Definitely. I think, we walked into that tournament knowing we were going to have a lot of competition, and we won our first games on day 1. And we were walking to day 2, we were like, man, these are 2. They were ranked like top 10 in the state at the time. We were like, I think we'd just be happy to come out with 1 win. And then Gladchuck and Lucas were like, no, we're going to win 2. And then we came out and we ruled the first team. And we were like, all right, maybe we can do this. And then, Sandifer and Taryn pitched just 2 awesome games, and then we were hitting from the start. And so I think that brought us the confidence that we can beat anyone in the nation really if we want. We just got to be playing our game.
Okay, Kyle, how did you see those 2 wins?
Those 2 wins, they just got us fired up for the rest of the season. We knew that because that was pretty early in the season, we knew that those wins were gonna just set us there, set in stone, that we're winners. We're not gonna just roll over and lose a bunch of games. We're gonna go out there and compete to our highest level.
Okay. Series with Granbury ends Friday night down there in Hood County. There's a big picture that's involved in here, of course, but what's the thing that you guys want to know about you all, just personally, in a series like this, regardless of how it goes? What's the thing that you kind of, a lot of baseball coaches like to use the term these days, hunt the good. So what do you think you all want to learn about yourselves from a series like this? I'll start with you on this, Wilson.
I think we want to know if our pitchers face any adversity, how we're going to recover from that. Our bullpen hasn't really seen much action through district, so I think we want to know how our bullpen's going to work, and maybe we go down early in the game, how we can react, and if we're not just going to roll over to whatever, and just see how we do if we have to come back and win a game or something.
Kyle,
this year playing some of the teams in our district, we haven't got a lot of chance to bust out our small ball game, and I think this game could be a great chance for us to bunt a runner, get them into a position, maybe slash a few, and just really drive them in playing that small ball game. Okay,
now a look ahead to your future here is the fact that, Kyle, you're going to go to Rose State in Oklahoma. That's a junior college up there, so congratulations to you on that. Wilson, for you, obviously you're hoping for bigger things either at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs or the Merchant Marine Academy up in New York. Just, first of all, that's a great opportunity to wait for to potentially get into one of those two. What would that mean for you?
I think it'd be the world to me. It's more, I'd love to be playing baseball, but it's more than that. I want to be in the military, and I really ultimately want to fly in the Air Force, and I think that I have an opportunity to play baseball in college, keep doing what I love, and also set up my future for success. It's a great opportunity.
Would you consider, or have you considered potentially walking on at either place?
It's kind of different with how those work, because it's a military academy, so everything's free sort of, and it's paid for. So it's the walk on would be I have an opportunity to play at both schools. So if wherever I would end up going, I'd play baseball there for sure.
Okay, and then Kyle, for you, just about this opportunity at Rose State, just what do you want to try and develop there in the 1 or 2 years that you're there before you obviously hope to move on to a Division I school?
Obviously, I'm gonna try and get stronger, mentally and physically, just really develop my skills.
Okay, so to my immediate left is senior Wilson Sinem, and to my far left is senior Kyle Poindexter. Let's hear it for these two young men. And we want to remind you that this Aledo Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Nye Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Head to Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth today. Their new state-of-the-art facility is conveniently located just off of I-30. Exit Las Vegas Trail and experience top-notch service and hassle-free buying. Don't forget to ask about this month's special offers. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family-owned and operated for over 30 years. For my duo engineer crew of Bryce Andrus and Addison Ketchum and the Hank FM staff, thanks for being with us here at Parker County Brewing Company. We will talk to you next week when head softball coach Heather Myers returns. I'm Kevin Lonnquist, and so long for the Aledo Coaches Show podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. With the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist. Please like and subscribe to this podcast and tell a friend. You're also welcome to join us every Monday night at 7 from Parker County Brewing Company in Willow Park. It's the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1, Hank FM, and NTXVarsitySports.com.